is a teacher apprenticeship pipeline. It's also about Filipino American curriculum in schools. We have 4 programs right now. The major program that we have, the 2 major programs that we have are at the local high schools. We have one at Burton High School, at Balboa High School. We have one at Longfellow Elementary, and we have a integrated program where high school students and college students can take the course.
Once a student's written off, they are written off and nobody doesn't care, because society needs those people so that our system can run the way it is. So I think that's where PEP can be used as a tool of resistance. It gives hope, especially for those students that are not exposed to going to college or even have the thought of going to college. But then it's also an ethnic studies program based in social justice, and it's also a medium where it influences students regardless if they're not Filipino. I think that we always, it's PEP is really cool. It's geared to Filipinos, but it's also it also puts out space out there for students that are of different cultures to attach themselves and be like, hey, you know what? I'm Latino. There was the same thing that the Spanish did to the Philippines, the same thing that the Spanish did to Latin America, the same thing that British, Portuguese, the list goes on and on. What they did to indigenous cultures is what they did to me. And I think that's what it kind of does, and hopefully it does, is that, it gives them a perspective that it wasn't my, that it was my choice, that I picked this route to live, but then there's social factors, and these social factors seep into their psychology to think that way, internalize it, and then it's not freedom. It's, what is freedom when you have limited amount of choices, and your pathways is this.
Been taught in a way where they're used to being lectured at, used to just taking tests, used to just doing what they need to do to pass the class, and they come into a space like PEP, where we're trying to liberate, this kind of way of their own, understanding what education should be.
Yeah.
And so the resistance that we get from the students, I think, is something that we always have every year. Mm-hmm. And it's always us trying to find that medium where it's okay to have a game in the classroom while you're learning. It's okay to question your teachers. It's okay to question what you're learning, and to think critically of what the educational system is trying to offer you. Mm-hmm. And so I think that those are some of the barriers that we always face, no matter what, in PEP.
We really try to create a communal culture in the classroom where students know that they can utilize one another and depend on one another to work on worksheets or to take tests. Students take tests in groups, and this really challenges this notion of individualism that is oftentimes taught within the classroom.
A school that's in the suburbs, because it corresponds more to their cultural values than a student in an urban setting, especially a person of color in an urban setting. There's different language, and I've been reading all this stuff. Language is the house of being, and language entails a tradition. And if that language only curtails to a certain population, what makes you think this population is going to be able to succeed? What person that has more privilege over them? So it is a really critical function.
Again, the reason I became a teacher is because I wanted to come back and offer students who look exactly like me and exactly like my friends did in high school look like. So I look at my classroom and I see myself in my students, and I see my friends in my students. And I want to be able to offer them something that I feel I didn't get. An education that was challenging, rigorous, but also relevant, culturally relevant.
like how can we provide students the type of experiences in which they can learn about themselves. It's also about social justice, to learn about what's happening in the community, in hopes that the students will be not just learning a little bit about culture, but that they're going to be engaged and they're actually going to do something and make change in their lives. And so it's an exciting project.
How can we engage a student's mind? How can we engage the student's body so that they're active, they're energetic, we bring energy to the classroom? And how can we encourage their soul? Like, how can we change their lives in a way where they can see themselves as agents of social justice?
And so learning ethnic studies and learning about those moments and those historical times in which, have affected, their current situation is important. And so I feel like they can learn how to be critical. They can also learn through ethnic studies and education how people have created social movements against these sort of larger structures of oppression, or historical moments. And it's important for them to learn, how other folks, have resisted and survived. So I think there's a point of resistance, but then there's also a point of being able to survive and construct positive ways to live. So yeah, for me, education, it's not just about it being resistance. I think that there's more than that,
But PEP says, this is a solution. I'm doing shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's not just reading, theorizing, nose in the air. Like, it's not about that. It's about being with the students, about sitting with the students, about asking the student, how does this fit to you? Or how do you think that we should look at this? And it puts me out there, and it challenges me. Ultimately, that's the goal. Challenge me, prove me wrong so I can be better. And PEP does that every day. And that's why I do it. Makes me stronger, and at the same time the community in which I live stronger as well. And when we put that together, we're going somewhere.
Like PEP is what? Like 7, 8, whatever generations deep. That legacy right there continues that love, and it spreads. So the purpose and content only gets that much stronger within each generation. And then all the other people that have been part of this experience, they hone and develop their skills in different areas, and they're still connected back to PEP. So within that, it's just knowing that there's people working, but they're working to build community and putting of course putting themselves within the center, but it's even bigger than yourself. It's for the people that are maybe 5 generations away that you don't know. The work that we do here, every you is just planting those seeds, so it grows up to be like a strong oak or a strong sequoia tree, and we're planting those roots. In our PEP song, it says grounded by the roots, so we're grounded by our own experiences and what we haven't seen yet, but we know there's possibilities. So the possibilities of how are we gonna fertilize those seeds of hope, those seeds of transformation, and then as we see that seed grow into a sprout, into a tree, how are we going to sustain that, so there won't be a deforestation or cutting down, of what has been built up with all this knowledge.
Right.